Good morning, students. So, as you have completed the first two chapters, that is Introduction to Environmental Science and Ecosystem, okay, we are moving to a next chapter, that is a new chapter, Natural Resources. With the help of some points, we are going to study what are natural resources. So, the points included are land, deforestation, water, and energy resources. Now, energy resources may be renewable and non-renewable. Okay, so these are the some points which are in your syllabus. With the help of these points, we are going to study what are natural resources. So, before moving to natural resources, first we'll see what are resources. The term resources was introduced by E.F. Schaumacher in 1970, which can be defined as anything which is useful to man or can be transformed into a useful product or can be used to produce a useful thing can be referred as resource. So things which are present on the earth which are useful for man, okay, or can be transformed into useful product or can be used to produce useful thing, that can be referred as a resource. Now, resource constitute the ingredients acting as life support system for living organisms. That means these resources are directly or indirectly supporting living organisms for their survival. So, in this context, the resources have to be considered with reference to human being. So, as the dominant race on the earth, which is human being, okay, so we are going to see how these resources are helpful for human being. Now, before moving to what are natural resources, we are going to see what is the classification of resources. These resources are classified into three categories. The first one is cultural resources, next one is natural resources, and the third category is human resources. Cultural resources again categorized into three different branches or the three different types. These are knowledge, capital, and technology. The natural resources are classified into two types. These are non-renewable and renewable natural resources. The third one or the last one is human resources. This classified into two types, that is number of people and quality of people. Now we'll see what are natural resources. So natural resources are naturally occurring substances that are considered valuable in their relatively natural or unmodified form. So natural resources are nothing but substances which are occurring naturally on the earth or in this biosphere and that are considered valuable in the relatively natural form. Okay. So the naturally occurring substance which are valuable for human being. So we can define it in another way, that is any part of natural environment such as land, water, air, minerals, forest, wildlife, etc., that man can utilize to promote his welfare may be regarded as a natural resources. So the natural environment means all these things, land, water, air, minerals, forest, wildlife, and their constituents which are present right now on the earth. These are promoting the man's welfare, okay, that may regarded as a natural resource, or these are regarded as a natural resources. So there is a beautiful sentence by Mahatma Gandhi that that is, the earth provides enough to satisfy every man's needs, but not for everybody's greed. That means earth is giving whatever the human beings, or what is the necessary for the human beings, okay, or even for any living organism, but not for anybody's greed. So the environment provides us with a variety of goods and services for our day-to-day life. Okay. So these natural resources includes biotic and abiotic components. In the previous chapter you must have studied what are biotic and abiotic components. Biotic components are nothing but non-living things which are present in the ecosystem or on the earth or biosphere. Okay. And the biotic components are nothing but the living organisms or the living things which are present on the earth. So the natural resources contains, okay, or it can be classified into two things. These are biotic or abiotic, or we can say by the combination of these abiotic and biotic components, okay, the natural resources are serving humans for their welfare. Okay. So abiotic components includes air, soil, water, minerals, along with that climate and solar energy. And biotic components are plants and animals. So earth's resources and humans. The earth's resources on which humans depend are provided by various resources, okay, or spheres that is represented in the figure. So in different spheres the different biotic or abiotic components are present, and that can be used as a natural resources, and all together are forming, or these are present in the biosphere. So in the biosphere you can observe there is a lithosphere, hydrosphere and atmosphere. All three layers or spheres are present which are supporting the life of human beings. Okay. Now if we see what is a biosphere, it is nothing but a thin layer on earth in which life exists. So the biosphere contains part of lithosphere, that is land. So lithosphere contains land, it is nothing but soil, rocks and other minerals which are present on the land. The next layer is, or the next sphere is atmosphere, which contains a layer of air. Okay. Now in this atmosphere the different types of gases, there is oxygen, carbon dioxide, nitrogen, which are supporting the life of different organisms along with plants are present. The next layer is hydrosphere, which contains water. So a water, that is nothing but another ecosystem that is supporting a different ecosystem or the life forms. Now we are going to see that how these different spheres, okay, are acting as a natural resources, or how these are favorable to human being or the any living thing, okay, as a natural resource. So oxygen for human respiration. So metabolic requirement. So oxygen for human respiration, as we know, the living things are inhaling oxygen and exhaling carbon dioxide. And the metabolic requirement, that means the metabolic rate, it is indirectly or directly dependent on the oxygen. So oxygen for wild fauna in natural ecosystem and domestic animal used by humans as food. So oxygen for wild fauna in natural ecosystem, that means oxygen, it is not only for the respiration. The oxygen, it is triggering some enzymes so that plants or the fauna can prepare its food, okay, or can store their food in the form of starch or sugar. In domestic animals used by humans as food. The next is oxygen as a part of carbon dioxide used for growth of plants, which in turn are used by humans. Okay. Now next is hydrosphere. So as the name is hydro, that means water. So clean water for drinking, a metabolic requirement for all living process. So for the metabolism, water is required. So every living thing or the organism requires water, that is clean water, so it can maintain its metabolism. Water for washing and cooking, that is day-to-day life's activity. Water used in agriculture and industry, that is the economical benefit which we are getting by water. Food resources from sea, including fish, crustacean and seaweed. So crustaceans are nothing but the organisms which are aquatic, and at the back of their body they have a shell, okay, or the hard shell. For example, crab, prawns, okay? And seaweeds are the nothing but aquatic plant, okay, which are helping to maintain the ecosystem. Food from freshwater sources, including fish, crustacean and aquatic plants. Water flowing down from mountain ranges, hardness to generate electricity in hydroelectric projects. So with the help of water, we can produce energy. So by this way, this hydrosphere of water, it is acting as a natural resource. Now next sphere, it is lithosphere. Okay, so litho is soil, the basis for agriculture to provide us with food. Okay. As we know, the plants are rooted in the soil and they can germinate in the soil on the large production. So the soil is a very basic need for the agriculture. Now along with that, stone, sand, gravel used for construction. Micronutrients in soil essential for plant growth. Now microscopic flora, small soil, that means small particles, fauna and fungi in the soil, important living organisms of the lithosphere, which break down the plant litter as well as animal waste to provide nutrients for plants. Okay. So these microorganisms are running this closed chain, that means they are degrading, that is plant litter or any another animal waste, convert it into the different products which are accessible for the plants, okay, that is maybe in the form of carbon derivative or nitrogen derivative, that plants again utilize those derivatives, and after the growth the plant and animal waste again maybe settle down on the soil. So this decomposers or living organisms are nothing but getting their food, and again this food is converted into the simpler form, and the simpler food or the simpler particles are available for the plant for utilization. Okay. So likewise this closed cycle is running by this microorganisms or the decomposers, okay, which are present on the land or on the soil. Now all these three spheres, okay, are contributing, or this all three spheres are forming a one large sphere, that is a biosphere. So bio is nothing but the living thing. Okay, so living things can exist into this biosphere. So what is the role of biosphere as a natural resource in the life of human beings or the living organisms? So food from the crops and domestic animals, providing human metabolic requirements. Food for all forms of life which live as interdependent species in a community and form food chains in the nature on which humans are dependent. So as you have already studied the ecosystem, in that you have studied the food chain, that is how a single organism is dependent on the another one. So likewise this dependency is forming a food chain, and this the each component or the each at the each trophic level, okay, the organism's need of food is different, or indirectly we can say they are dependent on each other. So the food is a requirement which is fulfilled by this biosphere. Now energy needs: biomass fuel wood collected from forest and plantation along with other forms of organic matter used as a source of energy. So this biomass and the different subproducts which you can get by the forest, okay, that can fulfill the energy needs. Timbers and other constructions material, okay, these are the one of the component, or these are the components helping for the survival of human being or the living organism which is present on the earth. So as you can see or observe in the picture that all the spheres are interacting, okay, or correlate with each other. So first we'll move to the first point, okay, that is land resources and induced changes. That is the first natural resource, is land resource. Okay. So Earth's 1/4 area is covered by land, which is largely covered with natural forest, grassland, wetland, and man-made urban and rural settlement along with agriculture. So as we know, the remaining portion is covered with water, and the very small, that is 1/4 area, is covered by land, and which we are using as a natural resources, okay, and the land is providing natural resources in the form of forest, grassland, wetland and whatever the settlement, whether it is a man-made or rural settlement. Okay, so along with the main or the broad by to a broad aspect of land as a resource is agriculture. Now out of total land surface, 11% cultivated, 52% is under forest cover. Meadows and pastures are forest cover. Meadows and pastures are of 32%, 20% deserts, and 2.6 is occupied by human settlement, while rest is covered by ice and glaciers. Okay, this is a distribution of in which area or the which type of habitat it is covered by this the total percentage of area. So nearly 80% land is covered by soil. In India, agriculture occupies 43% land, forest 23, pastures 4%, and human habitat 8%. So we'll see why land is a natural resource, or what is the role of land as a resource or the natural resource. So land is a basic natural resource that provides habitat and substances for living organisms, as well as being a major focus of economic activities. Okay. So many living organisms are already settled in the on the terrestrial habitat, that is on the land. Okay. So that's why land is a basic natural resource, and that is providing habitat, that means a place where these organisms are living, including human beings, and substances for living organisms. Substances is in the form of food which is mainly for the survival of living organisms, as well as economic activities, which is the support system of the life of all these living organisms. So land has following functions. Okay, so we are going to see different functions of land. Okay, because of that we can say the land is acting as a natural resource, or there is a important role of as a natural resource in the life of human beings. So the first is production function. It is the basis for many life support systems through the production of biomass that provides food, fodder, fiber, fuel, timber, and other biotic materials for human use, either directly or through animals husbandry, including aquaculture and inland and coastal fishery. That means the land, it is a basic support of human beings on which all organisms are already settled. Okay, and by cultivating so many things on the land or naturally occurring things, okay, such as food, fodder, fiber, fuel, and all biotic material. Okay, this land is giving so much naturally. Okay, now along with that we can maintain, okay, or we can use land for animal husbandry, aquaculture, and along with the coastal fishery. Coastal fishery is nothing but a natural thing. Okay, below the water there is a layer of course there is a layer of not the soil but the earth. Okay, so for both these things, that is aquaculture and coastal fishery, these are supported by land. Now the next one is biotic environmental function. Land is the basis of terrestrial biodiversity by providing biological habitat and gene reserve for plants, animals, and microorganisms above and below ground. So the land is providing a biological habitat. Habitat nothing but the place where organism is best fitted. Okay, or organism can survive in the habitat. And gene reserve. Okay, gene reserve, that means the organism is passing its gene from one generation to another generation. As they are living in a habitat, they can produce their new generation, and the genes are passed into the next generations. So by the process of this, the genes are passing, that means the genes are getting reserved in the next generation. So that is possible for the living things, and these are plants, animals and microorganisms. Now next is climate regulative function. Land and its use are a source and sink of greenhouse gases and form a co-determinant of the global energy balance as reflection, absorption and transmission of radioactive energy of the sun and of the global hydrological cycle. So it is a sink of greenhouse gases. Okay, that means it is trapping heat. Okay, that means high temperature. So co-determinant of a global energy balance as a reflection, absorption and transmission of radioactive energy of the sun and the global hydrological cycle. So in short we can say the greenhouse gases, okay, or the greenhouse effect which you can observe on the biosphere, okay, can increase a temperature or it traps the heat, resulting there is an effect which you can observe on the different energies. Okay? And as the temperature increases, that may impact on the land, okay, which is you can see or it reflects on the plant growth. Okay, along with that, the heat effect or the high temperature may affect on aquatic ecosystem. Okay. Now hydrologic function. Land regulates the storage and flow of surface and groundwater resources, influences their quality. So if the land is good, that means indirectly we can say if the soil quality is good or the soil particles have good water holding capacity, then that land or the layer of soil can store good amount of water, maybe it is a surface water or groundwater, okay? And that is useful for the ecosystem or the living organisms which are present in that area. If the water quality, if the soil quality or the land is not at the good quality or it is not able to hold the water, then it may impact the water holding capacity of this land. Along with that, it influences the quality. The if the land is already polluted with some minerals, okay, then in that case the land may influence the quality of water. The storage function. Land is storehouse of raw materials and minerals for human use. So raw materials, nothing but various types of crystals, okay, or minerals which are extracted, these are extracted from the land. The waste and pollution control function. A land has a receptive, filtering, buffering and transforming of hazardous compounds. So land is receptive, filtering, buffering and transforming. So maybe sometimes because of the mining, okay, the so many hazardous compounds or because of the industrial effluents, the land or effluents are thrown out, okay, or they are released on the land. So in that case, land becomes receptive for that chemicals which are hazardous. Okay, they may be filtered, that means they are percolating or they are penetrating in the deep layer of the soil. Okay, so in that case also, the basic components or the basic nature of a land or soil can act as a buffering system, that means changing or resisting the pH. Okay, or sometimes may neutralize, that is totally dependent on the nature of soil. Okay, now living space function. Land provides the physical basis for human settlement, industrial plants, social activities such as sports and recreation that we all are using right now, that for the human settlement and for the industrial plants, that is all factories and all. To archive or heritage function. Land is a medium to store and protect the evidence of the cultural history of mankind, and a source of information on past climatic conditions and past land uses. So to study history of mankind, okay, or to find some kind of evidences related to the history, the scientists or the researchers, okay, they use land as a medium or as a resource. The connective space function. Land provides space for the transport of people, inputs and produce, and for the movement of plants and animal between discrete areas of natural ecosystem. Okay, that is, it is nothing but providing a medium by which, or the way by which we can move on the earth, okay, or in the ecosystem. Now the next point is land degradation. Okay, so we have seen up till now, that is how land or the soil, it is acting as a natural resource. Okay, but due to some activities this or the usage of this land or the soil, we can face different consequences. Okay, and one of this is land degradation. Okay, so land degradation is human induced or natural process which impairs the capacity to land to function. That means it is degrading the quality of land. So it may be human induced, that is maybe man made thing, or a natural process which impairs the capacity to land to function. To function means it may affect on its fertility or its water holding capacity, or it may change into a less productive form. So what are the causes by which the human beings are facing this issue, that is land degradation? So the large portion of the fertile land is degraded due to the following reasons. First one is unplanned cultivation. Due to excessive use of agrochemical and overcropping. That means the farmers are cultivating only one plant to get an extra yield. Okay? And for that they are using chemicals, or in terms of the pesticides and all. Because of that, or because of excessive use, they may harm the land, and that resulting into a land degradation. The next point is overgrazing. It makes soil prone to erosion and soil loses its fertility. So cattle and all different organisms which are feeding mainly on grass, Okay, after feeding or after uh, because of this plants, soil particles are always together, or we can say they are at the fixed position on the layer of this earth, or the topmost layer of this earth. Okay, and because of overgrazing this particle may get loose. Okay, and that may result, or that soil is prone to erosion. Okay, now next thing is mining. It destroys vegetation and causes soil erosion and landslides. It destroys the vegetation, that means because of minerals and the activities by human beings. Sorry, the vegetation get destroyed, that cause soil erosion. That means soil particles are loose, resulting these are not the soil layer, it is not able to hold the water, and landslides, okay, because of the mining. The next is desertification. Fertile agricultural soil convert into barren land. Okay, water lodging. Due to over irrigation, dam construction, land degrades. Okay, due to over irrigation, this or the dam construction. Okay, so all these are man-made activities. Okay, or the human-induced activities. Because of that, the soil may degrade. Okay, or the land can be degraded. Now the next one is salinity and alkalinity. This makes fertile land uncultivated because soil have to maintain, or soil has to maintain its pH. Okay, and depending upon the pH, the vegetation or the plants may grow. If the pH or the salinity or the alkalinity changes, okay, then the vegetation or the plants and the organisms which are depending on this aquatic vegetation or the plants may get affected. Okay, and if the changes are too extreme, then that makes fertile land uncultivated. That means it is not for the good for the cultivation purpose or for the agricultural purpose. Now bricks cleans. It removes topmost fertile soil and leave it barren and uncultivated. Now because of the heating process, okay, the topmost fertile soil, okay, may get barren and it is not suitable for the cultivation. Next is urbanization. Urban sprawl changes land use pattern. So because of urbanization, that is land, it is not used for mostly agricultural but for the other activities, that is for the settlement purpose or living of human being. Okay, for building some plants, okay, or the factories. So all because of this that may change or degrade soil or the land. Now soil erosion leads deforestation and land degradation. Now floods impairs the fertility of the soil because of the large amount of water. It can degrade the soil. Pollution, land pollution and dumping of waste play a vital role in land degradation. So land pollution, that is dumping of waste. Along with that, the medical waste, which is uh, maybe decomposed, or which is maybe on the soil, not decomposed, sorry, which polluting the soil, okay, that degrades the land or its quality of soil. Now, what is the global situation of degradation? So, globally, about 40% of the total land area has been degraded. Okay, that the data is recent, that is 2022. The global assessment of soil degradation, that is GLASOL. So, it is a organization which is studying about soil degradation at a global level. Okay. Study suggested that 1.97 BHA. Okay. So HA is a hectare, okay, and B is for a type of soil, okay, which is having a very low water holding capacity, has been that's why it is the type of soil is included in the study. That's why it is mentioned by BHA. Has been degraded between the mid 1940s and 1970s, sorry, 1990s. This represents total 50% of terrestrial area. Okay, so the data which is available till now, okay, it is the survey which is conducted in 1940s and 1990s. Okay. So if we represent graphically the soil degradation in the map, what you can observe, it is in the red or the red color, the region which is represented, it is a very degraded soil. Now next one is the orange color, it is a degraded soil. If you see in India, okay, the very degraded soil, it is occupying almost, we can say, half portion or the one fourth portion of the India. Okay, now very degraded soil, that means it is also dependent on the how much pesticides or the agrochemicals are used or they have been used in the agriculture. Now next one is degradable soil, the next is stable soil, okay, and the last, which is even at the pale color, that is without vegetation, that is a barren land. Okay. So very degraded soil, it is not good for the cultivation of plants. So how can land degradation or this issue can be resolved? Okay, so we can conserve that land. So more land is needed for agriculture and forestry due to increasing population. As India is on the second position of the population in the globe, okay, or in the world, so there is a higher need of agriculture and forestry. Okay, so with the help of the organic farming, we are not able to fulfill the need of total population of food. So somehow we have to dependent on the chemicals to produce or increase the yield, okay, the crop yield. And forestry, it is we have to maintain the ecological balance in our life. That's why more land is needed. So moreover, good land is shrinking. both in quantity and quality. So as the population is increasing, the more land is needed for the settlement, okay, or to building some structures for the commercial purpose or the economical purpose. So it is decreasing the quantity and along with that the quality, okay. So because of the human activities and along with the some natural activities, the good land is shrinking. That means the percentage is reducing. The only way to raise land resources is by reclamation and developing degraded land or wasteland, increase biomass availability and restore ecological balance. So what is the solution for this land degradation is the land which is already degraded, okay, we can develop or stop the human activities, can increase biomass, so the complex products can be digested by the or that may converted into a simpler product which is available for the plants or any living organisms. We can do that. Along with that, by uh, introducing some components of the ecosystem, okay, we can try to build a ecosystem, but it is not easy. So what we can do, by not doing so much bad things or the things which are harming the land, okay, we can maintain the ecological balance. Now the main component of the land or the natural resource of the land is soil. So any part of the earth crust in which plant's root is the uppermost layer of earth's surface which supports all forms of life. So soil forms the uppermost layer of earth's crust and is made up of inorganic and organic matter. So inorganic components are whether rock, air, water and minerals. The organic components are the decomposing, okay, that is rotting or decaying fragments of plants and animals, along with the decomposers or the small microorganisms. So bare rock surface are exposed to various types of physical, chemical and biological processes which lead to physical and chemical disruption called weathering, okay. So because of some chemical, physical and biological processes, the rock surface may get disrupted or may form into a small particles, okay. This small particles are called as a soil and the process it is called as a weathering. So because of or by the process of weathering, the soil is formed. Now different types of soils which are present or observed in India, okay. The first one is alluvial, that is black and red soil. So this one is fertile, arable and cultivable, okay. Now next one is peaty and marshy, so saline or alkaline soil which is potentially arable, but as compared to black and red soil, okay, this peaty and marshy soil it is not good for the cultivation. So laterite and forest and hill soil, these are not suitable for the cultivation because these types of soil do not have these qualities or the potential to grow anything.